Good morning to you, good morning. Always have to check the date. It's the 11th of October 2018, it's a Thursday. If you enjoyed going to Southend yesterday, you're really going to enjoy where we're going today. We're going to go to the People's Republic of Basildon in Essex. I need to go to my bank. Got a few little bits of business to sort out there, relating to my pension and such likes. That will be exciting for me. While we're there, we'll have a look around Basildon. Now, Basildon is sometimes called a new town. There was a Basildon thousands of years ago, but it was hundreds of years ago, but it was only a little village. About 300 people lived there until about 1948, when His Britannic Majesty's government decided that they needed to build new towns all the way around London. They settled on Basildon between Langdon and Pitsea, and they built this home fit for heroes or whatever. I don't know what the slogan was at the time. Houses with gardens and streets and factories. Was a time that Ford's virtually owned Basildon. It was headquarters of the world, get this right, the world headquarters of Ford truck manufacturing, the Ford radiator plant, the Ford tractor plant, and just up the hill at Dunton, the Ford research establishment. There were other big businesses there. We think of Rothmans, the cigarette manufacturers, and Ilford, the film company, not to forget Marconi's, which of course is now part of BAE, I guess. It's British Aerospace, and Now, a lot of those businesses have moved out or sold on or whatever. We might catch a glimpse of the old truck headquarters, which is now converted into a block of apartments, jam-packed with people that can't afford to live in London, so they live in Basildon and they catch a train every day to go into London. What a terrible existence. Fancy working for a living. But anyway, that's what we're going to do today. Basildon. Well, of course, the first thing you need to do in any town, Basildon or Bruges, is find somewhere to park the car. I've parked. This isn't the prettiest side of Basildon. This is it's a car park. Right, we're going to walk through there and go to the places I need to go to. Now we're walking down into, and if memory serves, East Square. Now, I first came to Basildon 38 years ago, which, in a way, that's a little bit scary, isn't it, 38 years ago? That's Brook House, which won awards when that was built. this is the main town square. Yeah, the iconic symbol of Basildon is actually this bronze. It's a fountain, but it hasn't squirted water for some time. I do have to confess not being a fan of Basildon. I come here because I have to. I didn't really like it 38 years ago, but I have to admit that I lived in, not in Basildon itself, but in the sort of surrounding neighbourhoods for the best part of 20 years. Now, when this was dreamt up and envisaged, it was going to be a wonderful, wonderful shopping centre. But of course, things have moved on, and now, shopping is done online and it's done in out-of-town shopping centres. So we end up with lots of empty units that get taken over by charity organisations. Yeah, can't claim to like the place. Well, that was one piece of business done. It was all going swimmingly until the young lady behind the counter said what was my new telephone number. Oh dear, we really shouldn't be let out on our own, should we? We worked it out in the end. But I'm now going to go this way. This is another of those places that I am old enough to remember traffic moving through. But they turned it into a pedestrian precinct and then filled in the middle with these new, they never call them shops anymore, they're retail outlets. This is much more what the modern shopping experience is about, isn't it? Indoors. That's the Owl and Pussycat clock, and later on I will scratch around and remind myself who was it, Roland Emmett who designed that. Yeah, it's quite a wonderful thing, and it's, of course, it's tucked away where you can't see it. But I remember when that was installed. Well, you do have to laugh. There I was wandering about, taking pictures of the Owl and Pussycat clock. Incidentally, I took pictures of that when it was installed, and I'll have to check up what year that was. And a little security chap walked up to me. And you know what happened next, don't you? He asked me to stop filming because it's the policy of the centre not to allow films or photography, and you think, so every person under the age of 97 has now got a telephone that they take selfies on. Apparently they stopped them all from taking pictures in the centre. So I didn't have an argument with him, I just indulged him and wandered off, and I thought, oh well, whatever. So I'm afraid we didn't see too much of the Eastgate Centre, or maybe we saw too much of it. Well, hello, good morning. Yeah, I went to Basildon yesterday. It turned a little bit bizarre. Now, I've shot video all over, no, not all over the world, in lots of places. Places where there were security risks, threats. And I once had a Metropolitan Police officer said to me, "Excuse me, sir, what is it you're filming?" And I said what I was filming, and they said, "Oh, okay, all right." And that was it. That was during a very tense time. But yesterday, Basildon. I have been visiting Basildon since 1980. For a while I worked there, for a while I lived there. And yesterday I was stopped by a security guard. I'm desperately trying to be kind about this security guard, and I'm finding it difficult. Anyway, he explained to me that I wasn't allowed to film in Basildon Eastgate Mall because of terrorism. I didn't argue with him. I thought, you're doing what you're told to do. Somebody further up the pay grades has sent you out and told you to do this. They pay you very, very little. They certainly don't pay you enough to be abused by Harry Faber. So I didn't abuse him, I didn't argue with him. I smiled and I said, "Oh, okay." And I closed the camera and I closed the camera lens and I carried about my other business. But then, you know, you get home and then you reflect on these things and you think, really? If I were doing a reconnaissance for a terrorist organisation, having found that if I point a handheld camera at things I get challenged, I'd go to a shop and I'd buy a coat and I'd tuck my camera where you couldn't see it so easily. So I don't think that this chap will have stopped a terrorist outrage in Basildon. He certainly hasn't stopped the sad continuing chain of murders. He hasn't stopped the incessant drug dealing that leads to so much misery and death. He hasn't stopped child abuse. So I don't think he's going to stop terrorism, but he did stop me from filming. And, you know, we should be grateful that there are people that are willing to do the job they're told to do. Anyway, that's enough. What am I going to do for the rest of the day? Well, you know, this and that.